up? Welcome into
welcome.
Attacking Third for a huge Barclays Women's Super League preview because, guys, mark your calendars. The season kicks off tomorrow. I can't believe it's already here. It feels like the Euros just ended. Last season just ended. Chelsea were crowned champions. Well, yeah, it's here. We are talking all about it. Our preview, our prediction, everything that's going on in the world, plus a little bit of women's soccer news to get you all caught up. Alongside McCall Zerboni and Darian Jenkins, I'm Lisa Carlin. Thanks so much for hanging with us and watching. If you're on YouTube, if you're watching on Golazo Network, if you're listening as a pod, thanks. It is so good to have you with us. Dee, McCall, my friends, what's up? Dee, are you ready for the WSL? Because it's here.
Yeah, I'm good. We got a little preview last week with Jen Beatty that warmed me up a little bit. She gave us some of the insight as our resident former player of the WSL. So I'm ready to cook. I feel like this season is going to be much more unpredictable than last season was. But I don't know how you feel about it, McCall.
I mean, I'm psyched to talk about it. I mean, I love the NWSL, but I just love women's football in general, and especially just coming off the Euros and watching all of these players, and now we get to watch them for their clubs. Like, this is super exciting. It's the perfect layup, for England to win the Euros and then start their season. I'm so excited.
Exactly. When we think back to 2022, when England won, and then how the WSL grew and player recognition and the investment and the fans, and Lionesses just won the Euros again. Now we get to see it grow again, the league in England. It's awesome. So we are diving all into it. But before we do that, we want to let you guys know that we are so happy to announce that we are finalists in the People's Choice Podcast Awards. So thank you, everyone, for listening. And if you voted for us in the first round, you could potentially vote for us again. So check your email. You may be eligible. If you have an email from People's Choice, click on us, give us that final vote for Attacking Third to win Best Female Hosted Podcast. It would mean the world to us. So thank you, everyone. Now, before we get into all of our WSL chitter chatter, we have some news that has happened because there have been some big moves in transfers as the transfer window closes. The biggest one being that Asisat Oshoala, the Nigerian forward, transfers from Bay FC in the NWSL to Saudi Women's Premier League side Al Hilal. This happened earlier this week. There was rumors about it, and then pretty quickly it kind of came into fruition. This is big news considering that she was one of Bay's superstar signings ahead of their inaugural season when they brought in Oshoala, Darian. But now she's headed to Al Hilal. Is this a surprise move?
Not at all. I think the writing's been on the wall for some time. She hasn't played that much. She's coming off the bench. Mind you, this is a Nigerian superstar, the face of Nigerian women's football, baller at Barcelona. This is an established player. So then to come to a team that is bottom to mid-table most of the time, she's not putting away goals, and then you're not starting on a team. Why would you stay when you're still in somewhat of the prime of your career? She needs to go play. She needs to be somewhere where she's going to be confident and get your bag. She's probably getting paid. And she's going to be joining Jess Silva, for the Portuguese international, my dear friend who played for Gotham. And it didn't pan out. I think sometimes that transition is much more difficult than people account for, especially when you go from a style of play, a club that's not so aggressive in your face as the NWSL is. That adjustment's really difficult. It doesn't always translate here. So I think we're going to see a lot more players make moves like that. Caroline also, or excuse me, not Carolina. I'm thinking Orlando Pride.
You're all stuck in the WSL. You're like, let's go.
I really am. That's where my mind is. But I think we're going to see many more players go over to that league. Similarly, how we saw the men's game. It's just, I think it's time that that's going to happen. And if they're paying and they're going to get the opportunity to play a lot, I think the writing was on the wall for her. I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, that league has big bucks just as the men's league does. And so we're starting to see that similar trend. But I would imagine it was a combination of both things. I think Bay FC as a club, she's a high price tag and they weren't getting out of her what they were paying for. I mean, last season she played in all 25 matches, starting 23, scored 7 goals and got an assist. This year she's started 5 games and has 0 goals and 0 assists. So when you're paying a lot of moolah for a player like that and they're not producing, I'm sure she was unhappy as well. Like she's not getting the best out of herself in that environment, but also the club is like, we need to move in a different direction. We could get, 2 or 3 players for the price of her one. So I'm happy that she's making this move for herself. And hopefully it just kind of unlocks what's been a little bit trapped in her this season, because she hasn't seemed happy or really about her business there this season anyways.
Yeah, I think this year was a little harder for Oshoala than even last year. I mean, when you come to a new team and you are producing, you then fans expect, your club expect you to even take a next step in your second year. Albertine Montoya, the head coach at Bay, had said earlier this year, and even when Oshoala came, is that the adjustment to the NWSL takes time for players to get used to. But there was a lot of defensive responsibilities that were put on Oshoala that Bay wanted from her that were not at all expected of her when she was at Barcelona. Spent 5 very successful years there. So the demands of how Bay wanted to play and what Albertine expected of his forwards in this NWSL, vastly different than what she expected. But this is a very interesting timeline for Bay because they head into this week's action sitting 12th place in the NWSL. They are on 17 points. They're coming on their 3rd straight loss where they're just not picking up points. And now you have this big transfer move. McCall, how does this or will this affect Bay's playoff push?
I mean, I think for me, last year, what we saw was, Kudananji and Oshoala, the threat of both of them, it relieved pressure off of each of them. But now you see Kudananji having to do it all herself, basically. And she's getting a lot of chances, but there's no one for her to take the load or share it with, because when you're a superstar, you draw an attention on the pitch, right? Which sets up space freely for others around you. But if there's no one else drawing in that attention from defenders, your responsibility to do it all on your own. And so I think Oshoala leaving, even though she wasn't playing much, they're going to have to get somebody else in there to help Kudananji, because at this point, she's needing a lot of opportunities to just finish one. And the more important the games get and the closer you get to the playoffs, you have to execute. And they haven't had the execution there. So I don't know if it's going to work for Bay this season.
I think with the Oshoala move, it's signaled, well before I think the end of last season even showed, they're going in a different direction. However long that took for it to happen, I think they want to go maybe younger, someone they can build around, or get a very established goal scorer, because that is Bay's biggest issue. Lisa and I were on the call for this over the weekend, and it was like, it's Bay either does so well defensively, and you're like, oh yes, stuck in tackles, they're so hard to get through. Don't score goals, or they're scoring goals and oh my God, they're conceding just as much as they're scoring. This is not good. And now you're losing matches. It hasn't fully come together. And I actually think getting a pinnacle number 9 that you can rely on to just put some tap-ins away consistently is what they need. And I don't think Oshoala, her typical style of play fit what they needed on both sides.
Yeah, we'll see. Bay FC, they take on Kansas City. They host the Lead Leaguers, who have already clinched a playoff spot this weekend, Saturday night, 10 p.m. That'll be a big one for Albertine Montoya to test his group and try to pick up a point.
Good luck and God bless.
Yeah, and we wish you well. We wish you well on your journey. Some other big news that has come from across the pond out of the WSL. Nike has extended their sponsorship deal for 5 years with the league, meaning that they are going to provide boots and goalkeeper gloves to players in not just the WSL, but also the WSL2, players that don't have a sponsorship deal. It was reported by The Guardian that approximately 250 players from the WSL and the WSL2 have signed up to receive boots. This accessibility that Nike is providing, McCall, how is it going to change the lives of these players?
I mean, it's a shout out to Nike. So they did this with NWSL as well. They provided all the gear and boots for players after the first few years in the NWSL. People don't understand, boots are like $300, and you'd go through multiple pairs a season. I mean, most players have a training pair of boots and then a game pair of boots. And then you have
and your studs
and stud pair of boots. And you need multiple pairs throughout the season. So, when you're constantly wearing and tearing through them, to have that support, especially, when there are some salaries that aren't that high, people are just making enough to survive and not spend that money on necessities to play their job. I think it's huge support from Nike.
Yeah, I love it, but I'm like, why is this happening so late? We're still dealing with this issue when I first came into the league, that was an issue. I was borrowing cleats from my teammates that were sponsored, like an Abby Dahlkemper. I was rocking some of her Adidas boots with her name on them because I didn't have a sponsor until my second year in the league, I believe. But it's really crazy to me that we're just now doing this, and I'm glad that Nike is stepping up, providing cleats, gloves, and I hope many, many pairs because you go through them so quickly, as McCall said. And I just want to see more. It's especially when it's these players that maybe you're a little older or you're fresh into the league, invest in them. Let them rock your boots. Like they're training them every day. You'll get photos. So I love this. I think it's a really big step in the right direction. Hopefully we see other sponsors, other brands zone in on younger athletes that truly need them and just offer to help.
Well, especially Nike as an American brand, going across the pond to support, I think means a lot.
Yeah. That's a good shout, McCall, being an American. Dee, was that normal for like young rookies who didn't have a sponsor to be like, hey, anyone have some boots for me?
Oh, when you're like, I know McCall can touch on this too. Like, I was an Adidas athlete for most of my career, and they send you giant boxes every time there's a new color wave. Not just a new boot, a color wave. You'll get 3-4 pairs, 2 studs, 2 normal, and then whatever else they send you within the packages. And like, you simply don't go through all of them unless I don't know how you're training. That would be nuts. But I would leave 2 pairs out always for someone to just have. And yeah, all of the younger players would take those.
Or honestly,
I do think
them. But it goes like this. They send you like a huge bucket, right? And you're like, I only want these or whatever. And then you hold them up in the locker room and say, anyone a 7.5? You want these? Everyone's just kind of like trying to share the load. Like all the sponsored athletes are trying to help the ones that don't have sponsorships. So it's a sisterhood in there, but at the same time, it's like we shouldn't be having to do that. Like just
right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Every single time we hear stories of players that have put other players, helped them up, put them on their shoulders to lift them. It's like, wow, that's awesome. This is how the sport grows. That's not what should be happening. These are professional athletes. They shouldn't have to be buying their own cleats or even having part-time jobs. And that's something that this year also the WSL and the WSL2 is introducing. Is really, we're going to call it a floor, a baseline of a minimum salary in the WSL and the WSL2, which is stopping those second tier players from needing part-time jobs. Remember a couple years ago when the NWSL had their whole No More Side Hustles campaign that was to increase.
I was the face of that.
Let's go, Darian. Let's go.
For the first 10 years of my career, I had another job. So to think that, like, you think about all the athletes, if they could have just focused specifically on being a baller and how much faster they would have progressed and developed. And I think that's what we're seeing now. A lot of younger players are getting more contracts and, able to focus on their ball earlier in life. They're getting better faster because they do enough where that's all they have to focus on. So this is like the huge wave in women's football, especially getting a second league. Like you said, Lisa, the floor, like for them to train and be prepared and, they can still have a job like while they're playing that second league. But then when they get to the first team league, then it's like, okay, it's really on and you fully dive in and focus.
Yeah, there's different elements of how you can grow a league and the standard. And one of those is shattering that ceiling and continuing to move upwards. But it's also making sure that you're bringing the floor up with you so that there's not this giant gap between top and bottom. And it's not released what this minimum salary is going to be in the WSL and the WSL2 yet. It does state through an article read online through The Guardian that it will be different for specific age groups and different in each division. But it really does allow these players to focus on being a footballer and not having a part-time job. Now, in the NWSL, there is a minimum salary that is actually escalating up until 2030 under the new CBA. Right now, it is $48,500 as a minimum, and it will go up to $82,500 by 2030. So, Darian, can we guess that like maybe the WSL is going to be on par with that?
I hope they do better than that. That's still not good. That is still not good pay. I mean, it's great in the NWSL. We're provided housing. You don't pay bills besides your Wi-Fi bill, I think. depending on if your team has
You
some
only
sort
get
of deal.
housing if you're making a certain amount like below.
Yes, that part too.
Once
Or
you're
they'll
like, and
people
it's
around.
like $500 difference. Once you make $500 more, then you're responsible for your own housing. So a lot of people are like, actually, just keep my contract lower so then my housing is covered. You just are always chopping up that math, you know?
And they get you
Interesting.
with you think, oh, let me take the stipend, and they'll match the stipend to like the cheapest rent to give it to you.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. I hope the WSL does much better than the NWSL, and hopefully they start at the 80K mark or something that's actually livable, that you can build off of, that you can have a 401k with, that doesn't actually cut your feet out from under you every paycheck. So it's good. We're growing. We ain't great yet. There still needs to be massive strides, and I hope that the WSL looks at the NWSL and they just keep leveling each other up quicker and quicker.
Absolutely. And with all of this transfer window and the news that has happened, players going from one league to the next, it's iron sharpening iron, one league getting better. Hopefully the standards being set, the floors being raised from both sides to go up and overall make women's football better. Now, the transfer window is still open as of the time of this recording. It closes today at 4 p.m. Eastern. Guys, as of right now, I'm going to be honest, we have no update on Alyssa Thompson and what is going to happen with Chelsea. As soon as it happens, check out Attacking Third's social pages. If it happens, when it happens, we will have you all covered on everything Alyssa Thompson, Chelsea, any other transfers that happened all across Attacking Third. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to chat WSL, give you a deep dive preview of what you can expect in the 2025-2026 WSL season.
And I won't look back, I won't give up. Like I'm invincible. I'm invincible. Like I'm invincible.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third. WSL is here. It is back this weekend. The 2025-2026 season is set. Chelsea are back and better than ever. The reigning champions, they just picked up their 6th straight. They're gunning for their 7th straight WSL title. The London City Lionesses, the first ever independent team owned by Michelle Kang, are the newly promoted team in the WSL. And matches start this weekend, Friday, September 5th, and a huge one, Chelsea against Man City. And Saturday is Arsenal, London City Lionesses. McCall, it's like we get the 2 best games.
Those schedulers know what they're doing, man. That is liftoff. What a great start. I'm so excited.
It's going to be so much fun. And there are some new rules, a little bit of new wrinkles into the WSL this year because the league is trying to expand to 14 teams. At the end of this 2025-2026 season, 2 sides will be promoted from the WSL2. The top 2 teams will automatically be in the WSL. Now, the bottom team from the WSL and the 3rd place team from the WSL2 are going to go into a playoff game to see who stays in the WSL or if the 3rd place team gets promoted. So we'll cover all that in like 9 months. We got time for that, but just so everyone knows, it's a little different. Let's talk top of the table though, because that's where all the fun is had in the WSL. The title contenders, the big 3, Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester City. Darian, is it going to be close this year? Because Chelsea kind of ran away with it by the end of last season.
The parity in the WSL is getting much, much better. I think it's going to be much more unpredictable. I don't think Chelsea will be able to repeat an invincible season. If they do, you can run this back and clown me for it because that would be incredible. More power to them. But I think with the player movement, the growth of like even a Manchester United, I think London City Lionesses, everyone's saying middle of the table. I actually think they're going to do much better than middle of the table. I think they'll be a more consistent, solidified team that's going to be difficult to break down with all of their veteran experience. And then Manchester City, I'm knocking on wood right now that they don't have the same amount of injuries they had last year. That was the biggest issue for them as to why I think they simply weren't able to compete against a Chelsea or even an Arsenal later in the season. And Jen Beattie, I know we're going to talk about her, but she talked too about how Arsenal have struggled on the domestic side. And I think it's so much more open. Brighton, Aston Villa, we're knocking down some of the giants and putting goals away. It's going to be up in the air. It feels almost like NWSL-esque of who the hell knows what's going to happen?
That's the best part about it. Now, I don't want to go against Jen Beattie, an Arsenal GOAT and legend and superstar in the WSL, but there is something about this Arsenal team this year that coming off of a Champions League win, that psychological impact that the team has, knowing that they took down Barcelona, a team that knocked out Chelsea, and that Arsenal haven't won the WSL. They want that trophy. All they want is to finish first. I think that if there is something that you want so badly and you're willing to put all your chips in that basket, we could see an upset this year where Chelsea maybe doesn't finish first.
I'm gonna go Chelsea is still gonna be number one, Arsenal number two, but it's gonna be neck and neck. It's gonna be really tight. I mean, Arsenal has McCabe, Catley, like Caldente, Kim Little, Chloe Kelly, Russo. First of all, everyone's going to be watching their matches, right? Chloe Kelly is the star of the world right now. Everyone wants to watch where she's playing. So they'll draw a lot. Their fans will be huge. I just think Chelsea, the difference is Sonia Bonpastor. She knows how to manage her players and she has a lot of depth. And then the injection back of Sam Kerr. I think it's just going to be incredibly hard to score on Chelsea. Whereas I think Arsenal and City are going to let in a few more goals than them, but Chelsea's back line, it's going to be hard. And then they have some people that are going to bang in some goals as well. So I think it's going to be close, but I'm going Chelsea first, Arsenal second.
Okay, McCall, you're talking about the Chelsea defense. Now, Naomi Girma, she came in January to the Blues and dealt with a bit of a knock. I don't know, we didn't see her as much as maybe American fans thought we would see the U.S. center back. What do you expect Girma's role to be with Chelsea this year?
First of all, Girma can like stop any front line on her own. Like watching her, like whoever their most dangerous attacker is, she'll neutralize it. So that alone, right? And then they have, Millie Bright back there, other really quality players, in their spine. That's just going to be really difficult to break down. But again, like I said, I think Slegers, head coach of Arsenal, struggled with managing her players last year and her player selection. I think that was in the end the difference for them. Whereas I think Bonpastor, she always puts the best foot forward, keeps her players healthy, and has a lot of depth to choose from. So it's Chelsea's game.
Well, it helps for Chelsea when you basically have 2 starting 11s, 3
No,
starting
yes.
11s at times.
Yes.
The depth of Chelsea is so far superior. And if they bring in a Alyssa Thompson, I mean, they just know how to stack their team in every sort of way, whether they adapt the way that they're playing so that they can plug and play certain players against whoever their opponent is. It's consistently a wall to play against. Whereas they look at the likes of an Arsenal and Leah Williamson is missing the first few matches because of an injury. I'm like, oh, that's a massive loss. I actually don't know how they fill those shoes. And to me, Arsenal with Renee Slegers, I think last year her biggest issue was not adapting when they played against people, trying to build out of the back when they shouldn't be building out of the back. It's rainy, the pitch is bad. Go long. A team is pressing high, break the press through a long ball. You don't always have to play out. And I think the first couple of matches with Arsenal will tell us how much she's grown as a manager to adapt to games and adapt with the players that are available to her. That's going to be the biggest tell for me of, are Arsenal going to be able to do it domestically? We'll see.
When you look at the first 3 matches, Darian, for Arsenal, because that's exactly what I did, how are they going to set the tone for this season? London City Lionesses, which is going to be a great test. Like, I'm so excited to see how the Lionesses roll out, but really how Arsenal responds. Are they in control of the game? Do they start fast? Are they controlling the tempo as the reigning Champions League winner? Okay, so then Arsenal takes on West Ham and then Manchester United. To me, those are 3 very good tests to see how Arsenal is going to fare this season. Even with some of the injuries that they have, players unavailable, are we going to see Olivia Smith without her coming into this match and what's going to happen? But are we going to see Taylor Hines? I think that's a defender for Arsenal that I'm intrigued to see. She traded back into Arsenal at this point. She was an academy player there for a long time and away for the club for 7 years coming in. To me, there's just something about these first few weeks for Arsenal that are going to set the tone for the absolute entirety of the season for them.
It's
Well,
a
when
it's a
you're
don't miss because like I'm anxious to see a couple things. Obviously, with Leah Williamson out, Steph Catley for me is better as an outside back, but they've moved her to center back, and now without Leah next to her, that's going to create a little bit of uncertainty. And then Jenna Neiswanger, there's not really a position for her at left back anymore. So are they going to look to possibly move her in the midfield, move her up top? Like, are you just going to keep her as depth? Like, what's going to happen with my little girly there? And yeah, I just think they have a really tough first 3 matches and some question marks starting the season, not as they would wish. And yeah, Hines is tough. We'll see how she does if she is in that left back position and how she inserts herself into this lineup. And yeah, oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
I want to touch on Manchester City as well, because this is another top 3 and their transfer window, what they were able to do. They brought in Jade Rose out of Harvard. She's the Canadian center back that we've seen a lot in CONCACAF. If you watch the college game in America, she played for Harvard. Sydney Lohman, guys, the midfielder from Bayern. We saw her a lot with Germany at the Euros this summer, but there were also some big losses. Jill Roord out of City, Layli Alexandri to Barcelona. To me, Darian, this Manchester City side without Champions League this year has a real chance to contend for the title, because the last time City wasn't competing in Champions League, they only lost out on the league on goal differential. But how much of that is going to fall on the health of some of City's players?
all of it falls on the health. Like we
Oh,
said, Chelsea's
heartbreaker.
superior in their depth. Someone can be out for a couple months. Oh, don't worry. We'll slot someone else in, or we'll acquire another player that's dying to come play for us because we got the bag. City, on the other hand, as soon as they lost Bunny Shaw last season, Medema was out with injuries on and off. It crumbled for them. There was no answer up top, and to win games, you got to score goals. If your leading goal scorers, a Golden Boot winner of the last 2 seasons, is out, who else are you relying on to put those away? And so I think we need to see City utilize their depth much more and be able to rely on those players and those rotations. And again, adapt how Chelsea do. I think these other teams, like I'm assuming our Chelsea's going to be top of the league once again. These other teams need to take a note and look at the malleability of that squad and how they can get the best out of it to be consistent throughout the season. I don't think anybody else has that as their superpower.
Yeah, malleability.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's the thing with City. City's going to score goals. They have Shaw, Medema, Caroline, Hemp. They're going to score goals, but they're going to let in too many. I don't think their defensive line is strong enough. I think those games are going to be exciting because they're going to get scored on a lot and score a lot, but it's going to be a problem for them this season. I think they're going to let in too many goals.
Oh, a team that's hoping to, cause some chaos in the WSL is the newly promoted London City Lionesses, owned by Michelle Kang. It's an independent team in the WSL. They're in the top flight. Darian, you said you predict them higher than mid-table. How are the London City Lionesses going to disrupt the WSL?
McCall, you might disagree with me because I know on our segment on YouTube we talked about this, but I love a very veteran heavy team, and I think they are moving so smart to bring in like an Aslani, Lenari, Lana Kennedy, Katie Zellum, players that know this league and can set the tone for a team. That standard of that team, in my opinion, is going to be incredibly high. And when you have a team that's very structured defensively, everybody knows how to play both sides of the ball, are willing to play both sides of the ball, the style of play is going to come. How they're going to score goals is going to come. But to come in and be a fortress to go against with that experience and that problem-solving ability that veterans like a McCalls or Boney have in the league, I think that you can build a team so much more consistently than if you brought in a bunch of young players from everywhere that are really trying to prove themselves. I think this is a team that they already know. Everybody watches women's sports. Everybody's going to watch us. Shout out to that sponsorship on the front of their kits now. Mm-hmm. They're going to be very, very difficult to play against.
Yeah. What kind of style do you possibly think they're going to play, if you have a guess, with the head coach, Jocelyn Precier, who was with PSG, brought them into the Champions League? I mean, this is a pretty successful manager. And because there are so many veterans, Any idea what we could see from them in terms of tactics on the pitch?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very French, methodical possession
Mm-hmm.
style sort of play, especially with veterans who don't want to run as much anymore. They're going to be very artful in how they pick apart the opponent. They're going to be patient. And it's going to be sophisticated football, but it's not going to be like fast paced or anything like that. It's going to be very organized. And this is why I hear what Dee is saying, like bringing established veterans is like, yes, okay, good players right away. But I think they're going to rely on individual brilliance for the first half of the season because it's going to take some time for them to gel and become a team because younger players are more malleable. They're just more spongy, more flexible in their style of play to get on with the team. Whereas veterans who they're just more set in their style of play and the way that they do things. So getting everybody
Stubborn girls.
getting everybody on the same page with that many amazing world-class veterans is going to take Jocelyn a little bit of a time. But once they get it, oh boy, they're going to be really, really good.
15 players brought in this year, which is different than what we typically see from newly promoted teams. But the precedent has absolutely been set by all these transfers, by the moves, the money that's being thrown around, by what Michelle Kang has actually said to the media in terms of she is building this club to be at a minimum mid-tier WSL, setting the precedent that they are going to compete. I mean, you don't bring in Champions Leagues winners and league winners from all these different fabulous places, someone like Danielle Van de Donk to run your midfield if you don't want to be at the top. Paul Brown in our YouTube is saying that one thing London City Lionesses is going to do to compete is beat most of the teams in the lower half of the table. That's going to help. Absolutely, especially when you consider Bristol, Crystal Palace, both of those teams who just yo-yoed, coming up to the WSL and then dropping right back down. So where will London City Lionesses finish? So we did get the take from Jen Beattie, our Arsenal legend. So let's see where she put London City Lionesses at the end of the year.
London City Lionesses at number 6. And I really want to key in on them because Michelle Moneybag King, we love you, girl. Come on. Keep investing. They signed the likes of Katie Zellum, Danielle Van de Donk, Kumagai, Elena Lanari. I mean, yeah, Aslani, we could name literally their whole roster of how much Jakobsen, how many players they have signed. And you think that's going to push them up to 6?
I do. Look, I think 6 is very strong. Don't get me wrong. But I think I had the same reaction as everyone, right? I'm thinking every day it was like this new.
Yeah, who else is she going to sign?
Yeah, and for me, the biggest thing, it was experience. It wasn't youth that hadn't established themselves. And for me, I love seeing that in a team. And I think it'll take time for them to gel. We'll see what happens, but I think everyone can't wait to watch this team play because they're independently owned, as you said, from Michelle Kang, and I think they've just taken this league by storm. Everyone's talking about them back home.
Yeah,
I can't wait to watch them play. So much experience. It'll just see how long it takes to get them to gel.
Jen Beattie putting the Lionesses at 6th. Darian, what's that face? What?
I do think I know we're going to do table, but I think United, London City Lionesses are going to be fighting for that 4th position.
Whoa, top 4?
I think United's going to be a disappointment.
I
don't think a roster, and I'm just like, say what?
I don't think United did enough with their.
You are one of the biggest clubs in the world. Go spend that moolah.
I'll go on. You're the United girl.
And I feel very near and dear to this because I'm a huge United fan since I was a little baby girl, and it means a lot to me. I'm like, dude, we don't have it on the men's side. You're really making me sad. Can we do it on the women's side? Go spend that bag, get those players. They were out there. London Lionesses grabbed them. Why wasn't United going after them? They were there. We all saw them in the Euros. Freaking grab them, take them. What happened there? And I think that, we're going to slip down the table. I think United is not being in consideration of top 4 anymore.
Wow. Ooh. Okay, McCall. So you have United dropping out of the top 4. They finished 3rd last year, 44 points, just 4 points behind second place Arsenal, 1 point ahead of Manchester City that was sat in 4th place. So if you have United out of the top 4, McCall, where do you have London City Lionesses?
Well, I'm just going to tell you, PTJ is going to have a year. She's going to be receiving a lot of shots. So she might be up for the Golden Glove again because she's going to have her hands full and getting a lot of heat. I think the Lioness, I think it's going to be between United and Lioness fighting for that
For
position.
that top 4 spot?
Oh, you agree with me. Yeah. I really think
A
This is
5, like a 5.
crazy.
I'm going
I
5.
think that position is very open. And really, I actually really believe in the London City Lionesses with their veteran. It's not going to be the prettiest of football. Is it going to be the flashiest? Probably not. But this is a team that I think are so intelligent. You can't write off how pragmatic all of these players are. And the roster makes a lot of sense with them. Whereas United, I didn't see enough in the offseason of movement to get big enough players that are Rolfo's a great move. I love the way she plays on the left wing. She plays wing back up and down the pitch, great on both sides of the ball, but it's not enough to me. Again, that depth aspect of, is this team going to get it over the line and really
Again,
knock
Rolfo
out
is one of those players. Well,
teams?
she'll draw in, but she needs someone to dish to or someone to serve it to her to finish. She's a fox in the box. Like she's really smart. Her timing, when those balls come in, she just knows how to find that ball, but someone needs to give it to her.
I gotta laugh at David telling us to wash our mouths out. When I used to swear as a kid, I would get told I would get soap in my mouth.
Same,
Brought back some
Darian.
trauma.
Same. I'd get a bar soap
They
on
don't
my
do it
tongue.
like that anymore, do they?
Hilarious.
No.
No.
Guys, no doubt about it that United just didn't throw as much into this offseason, into the transfer window as even as someone very much in neutral, they know that they needed to. They needed to be investing more, especially if you do think about the men's side of things and everything that has gone on there. The women, they want to be competing. United wants to be at the top of the table. I don't necessarily see London City Lionesses finishing in a top 4 spot, Darian. So we will have to circle back on that one. I think that they could be as high as 5th. But even when you look last year at the table, Brighton sat in that 5th place spot, which was a little bit surprising. They contended, but there was a 15-point gap between that 5th place spot and the 4th place spot. That's a lot for any team to make up, including a newly promoted team in the London City Lionesses, no matter how much money you have behind you. This is also a brand new group. When you bring in 15 new players, you have to have a little bit of time to get together. And if you want to be in the top 4, you have to start competing from day one, picking up big points over opposition.
These players did not sign up for a team to not be in the top 5 at least. You do not leave these massive clubs, these Champions League winning clubs, to go and be mid-table. To
What
me,
if there's
that's
enough money there? What if there's
Yeah,
enough
I was
money?
saying if you're getting paid right and you get to live in London and you're sold on a dream that you are going to have this impact and, an amazing season, these are all your hopes, of course, when you go. But like you also sign not knowing who else is going to sign after you. So it's like you keep bringing in all these names that are very established that it's like, okay, I have to work with these people and we got to get on the same page ASAP.
I have belief.
I love it. The hope. It's a dangerous thing, Darian. It's a really dangerous thing. Okay, what about some of these other teams? We talked about United. What about Liverpool? They've got a new manager in Gareth Taylor. They sold Olivia Smith. This is very interesting to see what's happening with Liverpool in this season because where they finished last year was 7th. Very mid, McCall. But what are the expectations for Liverpool this year?
Well, the expectations are their name. They're Liverpool. They have been a renowned club for so many years. And for whatever reason, players aren't wanting to go there anymore. And, they didn't make a ton of, transfers or exciting moves. And so I don't have them in the top 4 or 5 either. And I think they're going to start slipping down as well.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's too much of a surprise for Liverpool. I want to give some love to Brighton because of what they did last year, finishing 5th. Now there was that huge gap, but they contended. They took points off Chelsea. They beat Arsenal, who go on to be eventual Champions League winners. And to me, Brighton has a clear identity of how they want to play with the ball, possession, building out of the back. That did burn them at times last year when they would get stripped, but some of the additions that they've brought in, goalkeeper Ndozie, the Nigerian goalkeeper from Paris FC, Rosa Kafaji from Arsenal, I think those are huge additions. And then, of course, Michelle Ajiman, who is still on loan from Arsenal. And I don't think you bring in a player like that to a team like Brighton if you don't think we're going to stay at least in 5th contending, because there's also been this giant narrative around a 5th place WSL team that they finish in 5th and then the next season, whoop, they drop right back down to the bottom of the table. And to me, Brighton, in some of their acquisitions this offseason and this summer, have said, we're going to stay competing with these teams at the top. It's giving like small London City Lionesses energy in terms of, we want to be there. We want to be a team that can continue to take down teams. Last year, it wasn't just a one-off for Brighton. Let's talk some players that we're excited to watch this year. Players that we want to see come in and everyone's got to keep their eye on. D, where are you taking that neon yellow highlighter on these rosters? Who are you watching?
Michelle Ajuman, girl. I cannot wait to get my kit. She is the player I've just loved watching her growth, what she represents, being a Black woman and going and balling out in the Euros. She's hella young. Now she's with the team as well. I think this is such a smart move, a career move for her as well, because now she gets to be the focal point of a team. The team is going to be built around supplying her the ball, getting her goals, getting her stats up, leading this team to that, hopefully remaining in the mid-table and playing spoiler to a lot of these big dogs. But I love her game. I think watching her growth and development, even over just the last 2 seasons of watching her, then up to the Euros and seeing her take that role of being a game changer off the bench in stride and dealing with the pressure. Now she has a runway with a comfortable season with stars around her. Fran Kirby supplying her in the 18. I think that she is going to be even more of a breakout star than we saw at the Euros, because we'll get to watch her every weekend.
Mm-hmm. And Ajuman being at Brighton gives her a leg up. I think just more opportunity than being at Arsenal, because she's going to be a starter. She's going to be a first team player, but it's also not at this superstar club that it is expected to win the title. So she gets to shine and flash all her skills, Ajuman, but the spotlight isn't as bright as it would be if she was the starting striker needing to score all the goals for Arsenal. I love this for the young player. It's a good shout, Darian. I like it. McCall, what are you thinking for this year?
I've got a duo I'm keeping my eye on. And it's funny because we got to talk about them a few weeks ago when we were doing best 11 for Leos. So Aslani and Van de Donk. I'm thrilled to see their partnership in the midfield together. But it's kind of like I said, they're both Leos, which an attribute of them is they're stubborn. And so, it's like, who's going to kind of lean into whose style of play and how are they going to get on the same page and start ticking all cylinders? Because if they can find a strong partnership and duo and really yin and yang each other, they're going to be really exciting to watch and only highlight and lift each other up. It might take them some time, but I can't even believe that they're on the same team. Two of the best midfielders for me in the world right now. And they're going to be on this new London City Lioness team together. So Aslani and Van de Donk, can't wait.
Yeah, Van de Donk for me, I'm very excited to see her back in the WSL and leading. I mean, she's the headline signer for London City Lionesses, how she fits in. Guys, I love all these shouts. I still want to watch Chloe Kelly week in and week out. Can she continue to level up her game, continue to be the superstar that we know she is? And even when we see her with England, she's not always getting that starting nod. She's coming off the bench. She's being a game changer so consistently. I just want to see her take that next step in maybe contending for Golden Boot at some points in this season, being at the top, being someone that her team absolutely relies on to get the job done and pick up points at the end of the day. I want so much for Chloe Kelly because I love watching her play. She's such a personality, and that's what I lean into. I love it.
Yeah, I love that shout. And I think because we got to watch her, another player at the Euros, take that role in stride. And when you can see, when you're coming off the bench, you're not always in the best headspace. You're a little salty that you're not starting or you're getting minutes, you're not caught up to the game. Just ice in her veins. So now with Arsenal, after the year she had trying to leave City, and she's finally there, hopefully she starts off with a bang and we just see her take it in stride and just ball out. I love that shout for Chloe Kelly.
That's what I want. A lot of fun players to watch. It all starts on Friday, guys. We get the WSL. Now, we wouldn't be doing a preview of a season of a league if we weren't doing predictions, making ourselves look silly. So stick around. Attacking Third WSL predictions next. Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third. We're doing our Barclays WSL predictions. We're predicting the top of the table, some other things as well. Of course, we got Jen Beattie, the Arsenal legend, her take on these predictions. Let's see what Jen Beattie had to say.
3. We could have guessed. Jen, let's start with number 3. Who did you have here? Oh, very predictable. I think you have Chelsea at number 1.
I do.
Yep.
I had Arsenal at 3 because, look, I want to be really honest.
Yeah.
Manchester City had so many injuries last season. We spoke about it earlier, but such big names. Lauren Hemp, Shaw we saw. Medema had a lot of little niggles, would come back, play world-class football. Hasagawa was out. Alex Greenwood.
For big amounts of time throughout the season as well.
Big amounts of time. If they keep everyone fit, they will be the team to compete with Chelsea. I genuinely do think that. And of course, Arsenal, look, you've just won the European Champions League. What can you do this season? They will be hunting a domestic trophy in some capacity.
Yeah.
Of course, they'll go for the league. But for me, Chelsea are still the team to beat. They were incredible last year. Baltimore, Lucy Bronze, big players that just took the league by storm again.
All right, Chelsea, City, Arsenal for Jen Beattie. McCall, who do you have? A reminder, the top 2 teams qualify for Champions League league phase. The third place team advance to the third round of the Champions League qualifier. So top 3, McCall, who do you have?
I mean, it says a lot that Jen played for Arsenal for a long time and doesn't have them. You know what I mean? So
I know.
But I'm not far off, but I have Chelsea 1, Arsenal 2, City 3. Yeah.
All right, guys. I'm going something different. And listening to Jen, maybe I shouldn't, but I've read a lot of articles. I was watching interviews of Arsenal players. They want a domestic trophy so bad. So bad. I think that they care so much more about that than any other competition that they're going to be part of. Of course, they always want to win Champions League and every player always wants to win everything. But I think that this is the year that Arsenal is going to top the table in the WSL. So I have Arsenal, Chelsea, City as my 1, 2, 3.
Ooh.
Take it or leave it. I like it.
We'll take it. I have London City Lionesses winning the whole thing. No, I'm just playing. I don't. I'm very similar to McCall. I have Chelsea, Arsenal, and then City. I think Arsenal, how can you not ride the wave of Champions League and the confidence that brought to the team? But again, the consistency aspect is, I think, where they're going to be let down, and that depth that is a monster at Chelsea. No, I don't think that even the second team, if Chelsea took their entire second squad and they played in the WSL, they might be number 2 or 3. Sorry.
So
here's the thing. Chelsea is a well-oiled machine. Arsenal is a stacked machine, but they're still kind of figuring out some nicks and knacks and some flow, whereas Chelsea is like flying on all cylinders all the time. Whether they have injuries or not, getting Sam Kerr back, my God, hold your breath. Like, come on.
I know. And the pending potential transfer of Alyssa Thompson. Like, there's a lot going on at Chelsea. I'm just holding out for Arsenal, guys. I'm leaning in and I'm doing it. I think that if you want the title that bad to take it from Chelsea and you have the gumption of winning the Champions League and taking down Barcelona, you're going to ride this year. So I'm leaning in on Arsenal. What about
hungry Sam Kerr? There's a hungry Sam Kerr that, shout out to Adriana, our producer, is confirmed to play in the first match. Bye.
Whoa.
Okay, you know Arsenal lost to Tottenham in preseason last month, right? Just saying.
I'm aware, McCall.
Okay.
Fully aware. I'm riding with it. Let's go Arsenal all the way. Come on, you Gunners. Dark horse teams. Darian, who are you watching for?
Mine is Brighton. You gave them the shout earlier. They're a team that I think played spoiler a lot last season. They can put away chances. The biggest question mark I had was defensively. They didn't have the most comfortable players on the ball building out with the style of play. But I think that they have made some changes. I think Fran Kirby is still balling. Michelle Ajiman up top. this is a team that's going to be really difficult to go against because they have a more defined style of play, some more confidence after finishing mid-table last season. So I think they could play spoiler much more than we thought they could last season and just build on that confidence. What about you,
Dark
Carl?
horse is tricky.
Mhm.
It is tricky because it's like so many things can happen in a season, whether it's whatever. But it's gonna surprise y'all, but I have Burnley. Not saying they're gonna make top 4 or anything or top 3, but I'm just saying I think they're gonna get some upsets and really put themselves on the mat. Reason I say that is because Matt Beard, head coach, Beardy, he actually deserves a shout out to all the original fans out there. Everybody remember the WPS, Women's Professional Soccer? Yes, okay. He came to America and coached for the Atlanta Beat, and I played for him. And I just know that he is a really good man, really good manager, always gets the best out of his players, makes you feel very cared for, very important, maximizes your skill and your talents and always puts you in the right position to succeed. When you have a manager like that, a team that's a team playing against, top sides, they get some upsets. So I'm going with Burnley.
Burnley. What about your top flight team? Do you have a top flight team?
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Like that would actually
in the WSL, in the top flight
I'm just
of
saying,
the WSL.
I think they're going to be exciting to get into the WSL and be promoted. But
Okay.
yeah, top flight. Yeah, it's Brighton. Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, I think that London City Lionesses is a fun dark horse team to watch in the WSL as well. But mine's Brighton. Guys, I like that we're picking Brighton. This is hilarious. But to me, they're going to snap that 5th place curse that we saw with Tottenham a couple years ago. They got 5th and then they dropped all the way down. Aston Villa 5th and then all the way down. I think Brighton's going to stay top, stay up
but
there.
The reason I was saying Brighton is because they've been working on it for a long time. Like they've been trying to bring in good players. Like they've been at it for a while. Like I remember when they first went after Taylor Smith from Gotham, they were like, hey, let's look at great players in the NWSL that aren't necessarily starting, and that's when they started to kind of build and take it seriously and spend money. And like, they're just going up like this, but so is Burnley. They'll be up here soon.
Oh, you threw me with that Burnley. I didn't know where we were going with that one.
I'm so excited for them. I'm so excited for him. But yeah.
I love it. All right, Golden Boot. One of the best ones that we get to pick. McCall, I'm going to start with you on this one. Who's your Golden Boot?
Vivian Miedema.
Oh.
And the reason I say that is because she struggled with injury a little bit last year. It was kind of, off and on. And so when that happens, you come back with a vengeance. And we know what she can do. We've watched her at the international stage, watched her in club stage. She's just a goal scorer. She has good support around her to feed her the ball. And like I said, City's going to score a lot of goals, but they're going to get a lot of goals scored on them. So she's going to be like leading the race for them, but they're still going to mess it up because they're going to let in too many goals. But she's only 29 years old. Like she coming back from her knee, she could be hitting like the prime of her life. Like for whatever reason, women in the women's game, they peak from like 20 to 32. And she's right in that gap era where she's just going to explode and have a great season.
I like that. I'm also sticking with City. Do I think they will concede a lot? Yes. But I'm not crazy. Bunny Shaw.
I know.
Bunny Shaw, the Golden Boot winner the last 2 seasons. She has 8 hat tricks in the WSL overall. My dear friend, she's healthy now. We're going to see her ball out. She wants to make up for missing, half of the season last year, but still scored 12 goals in.
Still won the Golden Boot.
Still won the Golden Boot with Alessia Russo. To me, it's Bunny Shaw. Welcome back. Stay healthy, please.
Yeah.
Bunny Shaw is the one player that can score 20 goals in a season and win the Golden Boot. But you know who else can do that? Sam Kerr. She's the only one that can contend with Bunny Shaw and score upwards of 20 goals on a year. And if rumor has it, she's available for this first
She's
team.
a mom now, so that's a question mark, like
McCall, if I've heard anything from moms that come back to play, they are super women. And
oh my God, no doubt about that. I'm just saying,
but
they rush home to my little baby all the time.
They find a different level. So I'm sticking with Sam Kerr. I like that shout. Guys, let us know what you think for Dark Horse predictions, top 3, Golden Boot in the WSL. It all starts on Friday. Big games happening. We will cover it here on Attacking Third. But as a reminder, NWSL, the playoff picture is cooking. It's so hot. Week 19 is happening. You can watch games across our CBS Sports Network. Sunday, tune in. Chicago Stars against Orlando Pride. That's 3 p.m. On Paramount Plus, and then Washington Spirit against Seattle on Golazo Network at 4 p.m. Eastern. Before we wrap, I want to give a special shout out to Sophia Wilson, Portland Thorns,
Yay.
U.S. Women's National Team forward. She has announced the birth of her baby girl. It's a girl, Gianna Capri Wilson. She's calling her Gigi. So congrats to Soph and her growing family. We're so happy for you.
Oh, congrats.
A little baby
Wow.
girl, a little soccer player. I
So
can't
you
wait.
telling me another Superwoman is returning back to this league? Wow.
Absolutely.
Right,
So
Lisa?
exactly.
Wow.
Another superwoman. So congrats to Sophia and Michael on the birth of their daughter, Gigi. We are so happy for you. Congratulations. All right, guys, that does it. Our WSL preview, all the news, the transfers, everything that's happened. It's in the bag. Thanks for hanging with us on Attacking Third. We appreciate you on YouTube, on Galazzo Network, and listening as a pod. We're going to be back Sunday, immediately following San Diego against Houston. We'll talk all about the weekend in NWSL, and we'll see you then. For McCall, Darian, Mark, and Audrey, I'm Lisa. This was Attacking Third.